So the IT department decided it was time for new displays. In fact, there was a night when Aaron said, we got to do something about this. They called me in to help, not help with displays, but to kind of protect our interest. Because when the companies who were doing the bidding come in, you know, they look around, they see cameras, they see sound, and they assume that that was everything, there was a big package, you know, that they were going to redo it all. And so I was there to say, no, the sound and the cameras belong to us. This is a totally different system. So in the course of the display conversations with the companies that were doing that, they asked about a voting system, and this has been talked about for years, the idea of a new voting system. They usually kind of went, yeah, okay, we'll look at that. One of them came in with one that was $74,000. And it included microphones and all kinds of stuff. It was the center of your universe, you know. And it's like, no, we don't need that. We just need a voting system. So it got dropped. As that was going on, I was thinking about, you know, it would be very easy to update what we have with nice lighted push buttons, you know, build it in. Obviously, the old switches were kind of janky. The little plastic boxes were broken in some cases. But what we wanted, of course, was a video output so that it could incorporate into the IT's presentation equipment, be seen everywhere in the room, and then it would come to us here at the Media Center. We have a single PC feed that we get from them, which shows all the PowerPoint presentations and stuff. And to embed it in that would be great because it would free up a channel for us to use, and we could return camera one to a normal camera use rather than being just dedicated to that little, you know, voting board, the scoreboard, we've called it. So I began thinking about that. It's like, well, how could we make a video output from a set of buttons? And it turns out, finally, after a couple of days, I figured it out, and then from there on, it was kind of easy. After I had sort of tested and breadboarded some circuitry and made everything work to my liking, I went to Kent and said, hey, I could do this, and it would cost around $1,000.
I said, do it. He goes, don't you think we need to get Erin's approval? And I said, trust me, she's going to go for this in a heartbeat.
What it meant was I had to deal with two different kind of concepts at the same time. The voting system is very simple. The voting buttons are just a button, it lights up, and it sends a momentary signal, which is all you need to do what we're doing there. There's a vote control module in the center of the desk up there that Summer, the city clerk, runs.
Item number 7.
Until you enable it, the others are all dead. All the vote modules are just turned off and they don't do anything. When you press the enable button, it basically powers those up so that they're ready to go. And then they cast their votes, and then the person running the control module can reset it, and it's all reset. When she puts the enable button on, it lights up, it stays lit. That's relay logic, which is like from, you know, 1940s technology or probably earlier. It's a very simple latching circuit using momentary buttons. What I did was use HTML to create the visual, because I've been doing websites since 2000, so I knew HTML a bit and CSS, cascading style sheets. What ultimately it needed to make the buttons work was JavaScript, and I'm not good at that. I don't know that really very well. And I had to find some code that would do what I wanted to do. And basically, it's keyboard strokes. Q and W are yes and no for the first module over there on the left. The next two letters, ER, are the module 2, you know, yes and no. It just goes on all the way through. And then finally, the M key is reset. When you press the key on a keyboard, it just tells the code, display this image being either the Y square, which is just a graphic, or the red N square, or when it's reset, it's a blue square that just looks empty. So that part is really pretty simple, but it took me 2 days to figure out how to do that JavaScript because I don't know JavaScript. And then we took a keyboard encoder, the little board inside a keyboard that converts all the key punches into a USB output. And the buttons on the up on the dais that they push, the vote modules, they tie to that. It's a matrix. There's rows and columns, and it's the combination of the rows and columns that make the different keys. And so they're just wired into that in a way that whichever one it is makes a certain key combination, yay and nay. So that's all built under the dais in that little box, and then that runs via Cat5. It's a USB extension to the back of the room. There's a vote computer at the desk where Kent sits. And he has a switcher now as part of the new display system. So his main PowerPoint computer is one input, the vote computer is another input, and then he can just select that one when it's time for a vote, and it shows up on all the displays. The nice thing about the display is you can open up the script. There's a section in there where the names are, and Kent or I or anyone who understood where to look and what to do, could easily go in and change the name. So whenever there's a new commissioner, it's a simple matter of doing that.
Okay.
Along the way, we decided let's make this available for all the seating positions up there so that the MAPC could use it. And the way it works for MAPC versus the City Commission is they each have their own HTML document that displays. So when you see the City Commission, there's just the 6 commissioners and the mayor are listed on there. On the MAPC, there's 11, and it's just a different document. And so all the buttons are active. Scott Morris, Assistant City Manager, he's got one. Gerald Gilbert, the City Manager, he's got one. Summer has one. They could vote all they want, but it won't show up on their City Commission, image, so it doesn't do anything.
I have a motion and a second. Please cast your ballots on the new program. Passes 7-0. Very good. Did the audience like that? The new program? Yeah, okay.
It actually uses Ethernet cabling, Cat5 or Cat5e or whatever, to tie together all the vote modules and the vote control module, all tie to this master module. It's a box under the desk. They all home run to that with Cat5 cables and they just plug in. So it's real easy to, if one has to be pulled out and repaired or replaced or something, that's easy to do. And I've made some spares of all those, so it's very quick if one goes down. But it's not an Ethernet protocol, and it doesn't work on the internet or on a switch or anything. It's just, we just use that wiring scheme because it's very easy. It uses about, I think, 4 or 5 of the wires is all of the 8.
I knew Patterson would vote no.
I like the hardware voting solution, and Summer liked that. So it was just a matter of figuring out how to get that integrated with a video output, and that was really the challenge for me, from my standpoint, is how to do that, and so that finally clicked.
Can I change other votes or just mine?
I can.
Okay.
I can back there, yes.